On today's episode, we welcome Dr. Chris Cigolea, a musician, a conductor, former military officer, former pro soccer player, and one of our favorite teachers.
Believe it or not, all those things added to just one amazing person.
We are so excited for our very first episode of Curious Conversations. We hope this will be the first of many fantastic people we get to talk to. Emma, how about you tell everyone how we know Dr. C?
For sure, Xavier. Well, we've known Dr. C for a while. He's a music teacher at our school, and we take lessons from him. He's the reason we know how to play an instrument. Okay, so here's a little bit about him, and some of the things we are interested in learning more about him. So, Dr. C is a founder and creator of many musical projects. He currently is the music director and conductor of the Guelph Concert Band, founder and music director of a blues festival from Romania, created an outreach teaching jazz program for the University of Toronto, a founding conductor and music director of the Guelph Youth Symphony Orchestra, as well as a successful conductor and performer. And last but not least, Dr. Z is currently an instrumental teacher at our school. Okay, that was awesome. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
So, again, welcome.
Thank you for having me, guys.
No problem.
This is exciting.
Yeah, it's really fun. So, first off, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great now that the weather is so beautiful.
Yeah, it is great.
Yeah.
It's been very sunny for us.
Yeah, it gives you this energy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The summer is here, finally. The school is almost over.
Yeah, we're counting the days.
We're gonna have a vacation that we really deserve, every one of us.
Yeah.
Can we start by asking you a couple questions, please?
Of course.
Can you tell us how many instruments you can play?
Oh, that's a hard question. I don't even know how many instruments I can play.
Really?
Honestly, yeah. Because I can play all the brass instruments. Okay, so I can play the trumpet, French horn, trombone, tuba, baritone. So everything from the brass family.
No.
And I can play the clarinet, saxophone, and a little bit of flute. I can play something. So flute. I cannot play the oboe. So probably it would be easier to tell you which instruments I cannot play.
Wow. Okay, so what was the first instrument you learned?
The first instrument was the violin.
Really? Did you teach yourself, or were you taught?
No. My father was a violin teacher.
Wow.
So basically, I grew up with a lot of instruments in my house because my father was a violin teacher, and my grandfather was a clarinet and saxophone player.
That makes sense. That's a
Yeah.
good wide range of instruments.
Yes, so that's why I can pretty much play all the instruments.
Could you tell us why you chose the trumpet for your main instrument?
I was inspired by a couple of my colleagues, older colleagues, that were amazing players. And the high school had a band, and there were soloists in that band. And I really liked the sound of the trumpet. And I also like the fact that the trumpet was the instrument that nobody played in my family, and
Want to try something
I
new?
could come with something new. Yes.
Um.
Yeah.
So, what? How did this all lead you to start CIG? Or
Oh my God, that happened after what 30 years. um, I started CIG 5 years ago, as you probably know. Yeah, 5 years ago, and I don't know. I wanted to create a place for creation, a creational place, an inspiring place for the young generation of musicians. And I had my own ideas and my own plans on how to do this. And I just saved a lot of money um, and opened the school. That was, but yeah, the goal behind it was, to inspire the new generation of musicians and provide them with the best musical instructions, possible.
Your list of awards and recognitions go on and on. Let's talk about that for a bit.
so you are the music director and conductor for a local concert band. Why don't you just tell us a bit about that then?
Okay. Oh, that's a really good question. When I first came to Canada, that was 26 years ago. Um, I we landed first in Quebec, and then we came here to Guelph. And I remember it was a June or July, and my wife and I, my son was a baby then. We decided to go to the park, and I think it was the Riverside Park in Guelph. And I heard the band playing. The Guelph Concert Band was playing, you know, and I was a newcomer to the country. I I was a musician, and that was the first actually band or musician group that I've seen when I first came to Canada. And I remember that we went to the band pit there, and we listened to the band, and I was so in awe, because I was for the first time I was looking at Canadian musicians, you know, and later, I started playing with Guelph Symphony Orchestra. I went back to school and I finished my master's and my doctorate, and so I did a lot of studying. And in my doctoral studies, I took conducting courses, to become a conductor. And then a position came up with Guelph Concert Band, the conducting position was available. And I applied, and I won the audition. So
Wow.
that was 7 years ago.
What do you think is the difference between Romanian music and Canadian music? And have you seen any differences, or is it just the same?
Well, music is an international language, right? We only have 12 notes in music. So, especially, classical music, jazz, it's pretty much the same. The only difference is when you go a little bit deeper into folk music, you know. Romania being an older country,
Yeah.
with a lot of history. Um, Obviously, the music is old too, right? So you get a lot of folk music in Romania. You have a lot of folk songs, folk music in Canada too, but they're not, So basically, the music is the same. Only the folk music is a little bit different, but it's music is an international language.
You were also a founder of a blues festival from Romania.
Yeah, Yeah, I was the founder of Fokshan Blues Festival. Now, Fokshan is the city I was born. So
Really?
yeah, so initially that happened 5 years ago or 6 years ago. Um, I created a concert. I wanted to create a concert, to give back, and all the proceedings from that concert to give back to my music school. Okay, and I invited a friend of mine from New York, who is one of the most prestigious trumpet players and teachers. His name is James Thompson. I invited him to Romania with me, so we went there for for a vacation, and we decided to do a concert in my city, and with all the proceedings, you know, to all the proceedings were supposed to be donated to my music school, right? And while organizing this concert in the city, it became so big that we had to do 2 nights of concerts
Wow.
because everything was sold out in the first 2 hours, and there were too many people who were asking for tickets. So we decided to have, instead of one concert, to have a festival, so we can play more concerts, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a big
So
bunch of concerts.
yeah, so because now we had 2 nights and we called it a festival. Um, I invited musicians from Europe that I knew, friends of mine, and we all got together, and we created. We had a huge show, and it got so much attention everywhere on the media in Romania because it was something new, right? My idea was to bring back to the city I was born a little bit of North American culture. Okay, that's why I brought the blues to Romania. Okay? And it became so big, and we got a lot of sponsors, and that's how it worked.
So you just talked about how much connection you've had with many people across Europe and everything. So how about can you talk to us about your connection with Cuba and the music and the musicians there?
My connection to Cuba. Well, first, the first musician that I've ever heard, Cuban musician that I've ever heard, was Arturo Sandoval. He's one of the best trumpet players in the world right now. And that was when I was probably 15, 16 years old in high school. And then you know, he became one of my idols. And tried to listen as much as I could. And I fell in love with the Cuban music, because Cuban music it's a mixture of African drumming with Spanish culture, right? So that's all the islands that are, in that area. They have pretty much the same culture, but Cuban, especially, they have a different music. The rhythms are just amazing. So, loving the music, I got to understand the culture, and I visited Cuba many, many times. And then,
With the jazz band too?
yes, with the jazz band from SJK, and by myself too. And when you become a professional musician, then you start having, you have contacts, you create contacts, and I've met a few musicians from Cuba, and I got in touch with them, and I was invited there to play for a really big blues festival in Havana, and that's how I got to know a lot of people. and I fell in love with the culture, with the music especially, and with the weather. Because when you go there in the winter, is amazing. You know.
Yeah, it's warm.
So yeah, that's how I got to know Cuba.
Can you tell us about where you grew up?
I grew up in Romania. I came to Canada when I was 23 years old.
What are some of your favorite memories from your childhood?
Something that I remember, I remember it was an extremely busy childhood because I wanted to be a soccer player, and my father wanted me to become a musician. So we had a deal. He said, "Okay, you can be a soccer player if you study music at the same time." So that's what I did. Now, I remember in order to play soccer, it was not back in those days. It was not like today. You would go to a soccer school that would start when you were around 6 years old, and
Wow.
you belong to a team. Every city has a team, right? And then that team has their own soccer school. So they take kids, talented kids from the years of 6, and they just train them. So when they turn 17, 18, they can play for the big team, right?
Yes.
So that's I remember, when I was 6 years old, I went and um, for the tryouts, and
Wow.
I was the smallest kid there. I don't think I was the only 6 years old, but I remember I was the smallest one, and I guess I don't know, I was talented. I can't remember how I played back in those days, but what I remember, I'll never forget. A bigger guy, um, he shot the ball very, very high, right?
Oh.
And the ball was coming down. I remember like it was yesterday, and I was 6 years old. And I've heard one guy, I believe it was the coach, he said, "Hit it with your head." And I put my head there, and the ball was so powerful that it just put me down. I fell down after I hit the ball. And I remember that everybody was laughing,
Yeah, I
but
can
the
imagine.
coach really admired my courage, and I got selected.
That's good.
So every morning I would go to soccer practice, to every soccer practice with the violin, because after soccer I had to go to have violin lessons,
Wow. Very
and
packed.
all the
Day.
boys were making fun of me because I was carrying the violin around.
Can you tell us why you got interested in soccer?
I always loved sports, and soccer in Europe is really huge. It's like hockey here, or baseball, and any child wants to play sports.
Yes.
And that was our childhood. We didn't have any. We didn't have phones. We didn't have tablets or computers or games. Our game was we're always playing outside sports, right? So I love soccer, and I wanted to learn to become better at it.
Yeah. So what was the first team you played for outside of the school that you went to, the soccer team?
That was now that team was called Unira Focșani, meaning Focșani is the city, and Unirea means united. Okay, so
Oh.
United Focșani, you know. And then when I went to high school, I went to high school in the capital of Romania, and there I was playing for a team called Turbo Mechanica Bucharest. and that was a second league team, right? And when I was 16 and a half, 17, I started playing professional.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like, do you remember one of your favorite part of playing professional soccer?
The best parts were when I scored. I would score a goal. Were when we won. Um, yeah, I remember. Things, of course, a lot of
Yeah.
things from. Yeah, but I even played here in actually in Hamilton with the
Really?
Hamilton team 25 years ago,
Oh.
and that was that was funny because I was playing for a team, and
Yeah.
I was registered to a different team.
Oh
But
wow.
those guys, they asked me to play just for that game because they were missing one player, and that was here in Hamilton, and I played that Sunday for this team, and I scored 3 goals, and that was in like the first 45 minutes, and what happened after that? Everybody was from the other team was asking who's this guy, right? And the coach of that team said, Chris, I got to take you out and I want you to go home because these guys are going to realize that you're not in our team.
Really?
Yes.
He did that?
So
Oh my.
I pretended that I got injured.
Oh.
They did the change, and then I went to the stadium had how do you call where the
Change room?
players change the
Yeah.
change room. Yes,
Dressing room.
I went to the change room and then I went straight to my car and went home.
So why did you join the military, and did that happen after or before soccer?
That happened during. I joined the military when I actually went to high school after I finished my grade 8. Uh, in Romania, they use in many countries from Europe at that time. They had military schools, and in military schools, to become an officer, you were supposed to go through this path, right? So start in a military school or high school, and then you go to a military school and become an officer, right, for a year after you finish high school. But the entire high school had to be a military high school. They were you not only learn how to like math, science, and all this subjects, but you also train as a to become an officer, to become a soldier, and you're not staying with your parents. Is it's pretty secluded. You're away from home. You're
Mm.
only allowed to go home, 2 weeks per year.
Wow. What about holidays and everything?
Yeah, those
That's
were the
yeah.
holidays. Two or 3 weeks
Well,
per year.
so the age that you became an officer, was that like young or is that
I
normal? Did many people become officers that age?
No, that was no. First of all, I went to this military school. Initially, I didn't want to join the army because I wasn't an army guy there. I was a musician.
Yeah.
But my father, that was my father's wish to, again, to join the army because he thought that, it's going to make me a better person. So yeah, and plus, there were some things that needed me to pursue this military career, you know. So now if you go through this path, like you go to a military high school, you finish high school when you're 18 years old, right? And then you go to a military school for a year. So basically, when you turn 19, 19 and a half, you become an officer. Okay, so it was something pretty normal back then. And then of course it depends on what career you want to in the army you want to pursue, because then you can go through to different schools and for different degrees and levels and things like that. But after I finished the military school, uh, I wanted to still become a musician, so I went to the conservatoire, and the army paid for it. Because they wanted to have officers that are interested in culture and music and all those things.
Can you tell me the best thing that you learned about your time in the military?
That's a great question. I've learned camaraderie. You know what that is?
No.
I've learned how to trust in my friends, my colleagues. And the best things you learn is confidence.
We'd like to ask you about your university experience.
What exactly from my university experience?
Your doctor's degree.
University of Toronto decided to have this doctorate program for instrumental music. Okay? Because until then they didn't have that. So and a professor from the university called me because I finished my master's at UFT too, and he called me and he knew that I wanted to pursue pursue my doctoral studies, but here in Canada they didn't have a place. I would have had to go to the States to study a doctorate in music. And when they created that here in Canada at UFT in the first year, they called me, the professor called me from the university and asked me if I want to join. And I went and auditioned for the program. I did an exam, and I started my doctoral studies.
Yeah, it sounds like you had quite a university experience. So what advice would you give kids like who are about to or thinking about going to university, and how they choose and how they're going to go through that path?
First of all, you need to have a clear goal in your mind. Okay? You need to know what you want to be when you grow up. Okay? And raise your bar pretty high and try your best to stay in school as much as you can, because that's going to help you depending on what you want to do, right? If you want to become a doctor, if you want to become a lawyer or wherever, an engineer, you have to stay in school and learn as much as you can about your career. Okay, because the more you learn, the more confident you become when you're doing your job. And then when you're confident, you're gonna start loving your job. And if you love your job, you will never feel like you're working. If you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life. You know what I mean?
What is your passion? Like, clearly, if someone asks you a question, or you were, why do you love the passion, and why do you pursue it?
My passion is music, and it's everything that has to do with music. Music performance and music education. These are my two truly passions and real passions. I have things I love doing, but I'm not extremely passionate about it. But these two, music, performing, conducting, teaching, these are actually my real passions, you know. And
Why are you so passionate about it? What makes you love it?
because I have to always be creative, and every time I'm doing my job, you know, I would never have a dull moment, right? Because when I'm teaching you, for example, right, it's so exciting, seeing that you guys learn an instrument, and every day, you become better and better, and it's such a joy for me as a teacher, right?
Thank you.
And it's a great energy. It's a great energy that the stage gives you when you perform, for example. And I really love doing what I'm doing.
Do you know what your favorite piece of music is?
But Xavier, I don't have a favorite piece of music.
Okay, so if you were to have a new student and they asked you to play a piece, what piece would you show them first?
Wherever comes to my mind, usually I improvise. You know, I'm not thinking of the piece. Okay, so I think this student would like this piece. No, I just improvise, and I look in the eyes of the student, and if he likes it, I'll do more. If he doesn't, I'll stop.
We think you're like a great teacher, and obviously we're seeing
Thank
you in
you.
person. So, what do you think is the hardest adjustment for teachers through remote learning?
The technology, definitely. You know, um, and for a lot of us, we're not ready. Like, who would have thought that you won't be able to go to school, and so all that time and adjustment, getting to learning how to deal with the technology, and with the timing, with the stress of being in front of a screen, with the fact that you didn't really have contact with your students, that was the hardest thing.
So, before we wrap up, do you want anything? Is there anything you would like to ask us?
Yes. Where are you? Because I teach both of you, and I really enjoy spending every class with you guys. Um, why are you so passionate about music?
Well, I'm very passionate about music because it makes me really happy.
So I enjoy music because it's just so fun, and there's always like an effect. Like you never know what you're gonna play, and that's why I like improvising so much, because you just play what you have on your mind, and it can have a really calming effect. If you're happy, it means you'll be happy. But if you're just upset, you can just play some music and you'll be fine.
That's wonderful.
Thank you for being our first guest. Did you have fun? We
It's
did.
been a pleasure. Yeah, it was great, and you want to do it again? We'll definitely do it again.
All right.
Okay. I'll be back to your
Will you
podcast.
please play us out?
Okay, sure. I'll just improvise something. I'm not gonna
Alright.
play a song.
Still can't get over how great you are.
Thank you. You're an amazing player. Both of you are amazing players. Listen, I wish I could play like you when I was 11 years old or 10 years old. You're amazing.
Well, thank you so much
You're very
for being
welcome,
our
guys.
first guest.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Anytime.
we had lots of fun, so hope we can have you back sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
Bye.
It'll be a pleasure. Okay, bye.
Wow, what an amazing start to our first episode of the podcast.
I sure enjoy this. I really hope you guys. I want you guys to think about what your favorite story was. But mine, I really enjoyed the Hamilton soccer story where he scored 3 goals in the first 45 minutes, and then he had to fake an injury because he wasn't actually part of the team. When the other team was like, "Who is this guy?" I also found it very interesting that the military paid for his music school because I guess it's important for officers to know culture in music, and that was really cool. So.
I couldn't agree more, Emma. But I have one thing that's just a little bit better for me, and that was when he started a music festival because he couldn't do it for just one
night.
One night or
That was
one concert, so he
wow,
had to do it a lot
Can't
more.
believe it sold out in like 2 hours.
That's crazy.
Thank you for listening, and I know all the shows you're probably listening to say this, but please rate the podcast and download the episode, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. That'll be in the show notes. And if you want to, just say hi to us in the comments. We'll be sure to read them.
Thank you so much for listening to our first episode of Curious Conversations.
Bye!